Hello, 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 my friends. You know who I am. If you're new here and you don't, Lisa Bowles here, otherwise known as the Soul Mapper. It is 1 o'clock on the dot. I don't know if you can see that or not. On Thursday, July the 30th, 2026. And we're looking at August. Whew, it's coming in hot, folks. And I don't mean temperature. So I'm glad you're here. Hi, Bernadette, Karen. Wow, you got in fast today. That's awesome. Marilyn, hello, hello. Leslie, Shayona. Bernadette, did I say your name already? And I just have forgotten. Alex, hello, hello.
Yes, you did, Lisa. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for reminding me. Hello, folks. We're going to give folks another minute or so to enter because there's some latecomers. So I want to give folks another moment to join us before we dive in, because things kind of just kick off right from the beginning with some really important and useful things to keep in mind. Context. Okay. So what time is it? Give it another minute. I hope your July has been splendid. Big hugs back to you, Melissa. It has been hot here, temperature, and it's been delightful in all kinds of ways. I'm also glad that Mercury retrograde's over because, right, Erica? Oh my goodness, it has been wild, or it was wild. Still a little bit of wildness because we're still in the post shadow, post retrograde shadow. So if you're still noticing some technological weirdness and wonkiness, that will likely be why. Okay, we're a couple minutes past, so let's just dive in. Erica, when you're ready, could we have the first slide, please? I'm going to take my eyes off who's in the meeting right now, so I'm going to leave all that to you, Erica. Okay, so these are the big backbeats. Now, there's been some adjustments. The one I want to draw your attention to is the first one. Our curative effect, previews in Taurus till September. We're going to talk about that because something happens here. So that's going to look a little different when we do live for September. Yeah. And in particular, I also want you to come down to not the fourth on the list, the new Nodal Wah, Aquarius Leo. They shifted. They're just, my goodness, there's some big stuff going on there. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. In fact, I'm going to do a mini masterclass on that in the current for current members next Friday, not this tomorrow, but so if you're a current member and you don't have next Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern in your calendar, you might want to. We're going to do a mini masterclass on that because it's going to matter. And we're going to look at a couple of retrogrades too. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, and before we do that, please take a picture of this so that you can print it and post it somewhere and keep it within sightline, because keeping these in mind every so often will help you. Okay? Having that context reminder is going to be very, very useful. So, okay, next slide, please. Now, the shorter term influence is still in play. Only 5 of them. Normally we have a few more. This is also worth keeping in mind. Although you notice that most of them, the first 3, in a couple of weeks, they'll be finished. We got some new ones to add, as you probably already expected. But the last one I want you to pay attention to is our dream keeper, Neptune, who's retrograde in Aries. Okay, so both he and Saturn are now retrograde. Remember, they played a really big role in things because they met up at 0 degrees Aquarius at the very beginning of the whole zodiacal cycle together, okay, in mid-February. And that that has been and continues to be a very big deal. Now they've both gone retrograde. And that's also a big deal, which is why in the current next Friday, we're going to take a look at those two, okay? Because also matters. Next slide, please. Now August. There we go. August 3rd till September the 17th. Our curative effect, otherwise known as Chiron, also goes retrograde, okay? Now, I'm going to look at my notes because I want to make sure I don't miss anything on you today. So if I don't make eye contact, please know it's not because I don't love you. It's because I don't want to miss anything I've prepared for you. So this is the third of the big movers that are in retrograde. And so, just first blush, there's some things I want to make sure we all know. One, he's been in quote unquote preview, right? Since June 19th. And if you're new here or you missed hearing that during Live for June, what that essentially means is he shifted from where he's been working for the last 8 years, Aries, into Taurus as a kind of preview, because he's now begun this retrograde and he's going to go back from Taurus, where he's been working for a month and a bit. Yeah. And he's starting to retrograde back, and then he'll retrograde all the way back in September, back into Aries, where he'll stay until spring of next year. Okay. And so preview window means here's a kind of coming events preview. All right. Now, what does that mean? Well, initially giving us a preview of this is where it's likely going to be at work in your life. And let me show you a few signs. Now, that let me show you a few signs includes a couple of really important things. One, he's like, so what house, and we've talked about this before, what house is Taurus in your birth chart, or what I call the soul map? Because that's the area of life that this will be most active until he shifts all the way back into Aries. Okay. So the previews will be happening there, but the previews will be about security, safety. And when retrograde, we're like rethinking, being prompted to rethink, reconsider, and he'll be sending signs and symbolic kind of interactions that hope to help you look at these with fresh eyes. So if I rethink this, what do I now need to better understand about my life's orientation to safety or security in this area of life that then has effect on every other area of my life? Okay. So what he may be doing in service to all of us, because this stuff, if it's been below the surface of our conscious awareness, he's stirring it up so we can become conscious and work with it more effectively, partner with it more effectively, and get ready for when he shifts all the way back into Taurus next spring and stays there for a handful of years. Okay. So we can kind of get a jump on things. There could be old pain around safety, around financial security, physical security and safety, stability, and our sense of belonging on earth. Do I have a right to be alive in a body? Okay. Lots of people around the world ask that question on the regular, and it's here. But for many of us, it's not here. Okay. And this wants it to be, because we need to address the question. Okay. Now, there's a couple of other really important things about this that I also want to leave you with. Transformative healing is unlocked by extending support. Now, this doesn't mean extend support to other people and you don't have to look at your own stuff. It's hand in hand. Okay? As most here will know, that folks around us are mirrors for us. So if you extend support, you are by association extending support to yourself. Okay? Generosity becomes medicine. But keep in mind, as you're extending that support and unlocking potential healing, it is wise for you to keep in mind, A, that the generosity you're extending to yourself too. And two, that if there's any kind of saviorism in there, you want to take a really hard look at that. Because offering support, being generous from saviorism, that ain't going to help nobody. Okay? Okay. The other thing that I feel is also really important to mention here is standing in alliance with people who need your support. The people for whom more often than many of us, the question of, is it safe to be here in this body, is much more present, okay? To be their ally and do some deep work about what it is to be an ally, not a performative alliance kind of deal, okay? Okay. Yeah. We're going to take, again, I mentioned with the current folks, we're going to take a deeper look at this because this warrants a deeper look. But please keep this in mind as you're going forward, because the retrograde will have us, often in ways that are not entirely conscious, be stirred up. And you want to look at that stir up for signals and signs of this. And again, touching in with what house Taurus is in for you, particularly the front cusp, that will be helpful. Okay? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, August 6th till September 10th, our charisma of cause, otherwise known as Venus, shifts into Libra. Oh my goodness, Venus is very happy here. Very, very happy here. And so for folks like us, for whom love is not just love between two people, but love in the bigger cosmic sense, wowza. Amplified. And the thing I also want to remind us of is that it wants to be anchored in physical living and here in everyday interactions, okay? So if the whole notion of cosmic love has you kind of go, bring it back down and do whatever you can to bring it back down, okay? Grounding that, embodying that, and asking yourself the question, so what might that actually look like in my life if I'm here to live that? And one of the ways to kind of touch in with that is look where Libra is in your birth chart or soul map, okay? Okay, so here are the translations that collectively we're going to be working with, okay? Harmony, but not performative harmony. Not the kind of new agey, irony, mimi video kind of harmony, okay? Deep harmony. And one of the ways that's likely going to show up for a lot of folks like us is, how do I help myself be in harmonics with me so that I can be in more authentic harmonics, both with my reason for being here, my work in the world, and with those my work, my life is meant to serve, okay? So harmonics is akin to congruence. It's not quite the same, but it's close. And again, it's not performative, okay? Style is another translation. Oh my goodness. Style. And I don't mean surfacey kind of, I'm talking style as an artistic expression of who we are and the intelligence of beauty, okay? And what that looks or feels like to be living in or from. This is likely to affect, well, actually, let me not say that. I'm just going to go, so what fields do you think that might be favoring this month? The third translation is connection. Sweet, authentic, harmonic connection. And again, not, not performative, but real connection. That is, yeah. So from our wardrobes to our living rooms to our the homes, the virtual homes for our work in the world, all of those places, like hair, just recently got my hair trimmed. But those things as genuine expressions of who we are, what we offer, what it's like to be in our spaces, the kind of space we need to be nourished and supported and most alive. So there's more in there than might meet the eye. That's all here. And so there's upgrades to all that, but also a kind of yummy luxury. But luxury that isn't about sending a status signal, but is the soul's hunger for fine things, again, as an expression. And if there are any places inside of us that have about luxury, I would pay attention to that too. Okay? Yeah. All right. The other thing that I'm just going to say here, it's not on the slide. There could be an uptick in hunger for or a natural gravitation towards people with whom you could build either one-off or an extended collaborative vibe in work. Okay? And by collaborative vibe, I say that particular, I'm not talking about joint, the traditional social media joint venture, although that can certainly be part of it. But again, it is harmonics. It is the pull to be in relationship in a balanced, dynamically equilibrium. Yeah, that doesn't make, but a dynamic equilibrium between two creators who find that creating together actually amplifies the effects of the work. I'll leave that there. Okay, next slide. August the 9th till the 25th, our communication savant Mercury shifts into Leo. So if you've got a little roar to reclaim, this will be your time. And by roar, I mean, letting your voice be full. Letting your voice, and I don't mean, necessarily articulation in the most literal sense, but any expression of who you are and the work you're here to do, that's what we're talking about. Okay, finding your voice. And there may be places where you have, but there's more. Because being in your full-throatedness felt risky, felt that it lacked humility. But someone else's definition of humility, and whether or not that's your definition, that's up on the table. Okay? So the 3 P's, pitching, although I don't like that word, but if it comes from an aligned, genuine place of the work that I am here to live and offer is genuine and could be deeply supportive to you, that okie dokie. Proposing, so making offers, proposing alliances, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Now remember, our charisma of cause is working through Libra. Interesting. Okay. And then the third is a proclamation of some kind, making a proclamation or a declaration about your work or about yourself in relationship to your work. That also gets all kinds of support and openings. Again, if you're residing in it genuinely. There's almost always confusion about the Leonine spirit, that it's there's a difference between standing on the right stage for you and your work, being daring enough to occupy the spotlight your work deserves and needs to be seen, and being performative. They're not the same thing. So just want to leave that there. And authentic declarations are also about being in service. Serve your declaration. Think storytelling, bold for you, visuals, even a dash of theatricality, but theatricality that is intended from genuine care to elicit emotional engagement, to give people good reason to pay attention. Okay? And notice I said give people good reason to invest their energy and attention. It isn't about being attention grabbing, because that's not the thing. It is about giving people good reason. Okay? Just want you to know that with this particular influence and oversight, conversations can go from a casual chit chat to full on declarations in a couple of minutes when there's right connection and right alignment. Okay? Okay. Okay. I also want to say one last thing. Charisma. Allowing your life's natural charisma to have some sway, because we often distrust charisma for good reason, because people can be charming to get past our appropriate, I'm going to say, defenses. And allowing ourselves to occupy our life's natural charisma can feel that. And so you want to watch for that just in case, okay? Because it could keep you off the stage or out of the spotlight your work needs. And the people your work is for need you to let yourself occupy. And remember, it's about occupying your place in the world, occupying your life fully, occupying your full-throatedness. Okay? Okay, next slide, please. August the 11th till September the 27th, our action instinct Mars moves through Cancer. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is home-based action. 2 thumbs up, 5 gold stars. And for purposepreneurs like you and I, who tend to do our work from home, oh my goodness, this is a big fat boost. Yeah? Okay. So if you've been thinking about starting a kitchen table business, to use a common phrase, or you've been feeling for a while it's time to kind of up level without getting all mainstream marketing on you, pay close attention to this one. It's a really opportune window. Now, it could be a bit of a mixed bag because Mars is not terribly comfortable in this particular sign, okay? From propensity, Mars tends to be kind of aggressive. And so when here, it's considered one of the toughest places for Mars to express himself, our action instinct to express itself. But that's a good thing for people like us because we're practicing living from elevation, not propensity, right? So there's a difference between being aggressive and being assertive. Yeah? But that means you have to come from home in yourself, Cancer. And come from deep knowing instinct rather than, okay? So if you notice that there's a kind of mixed bag feel or conflicted vibe, please pay close attention to that because you're working something and that's a good thing. Keep this in mind for people out pitching stuff because remember, we've got that call to pitch and proclaim and all that is going on, at least in part while this begins. And it's a good thing to watch. Okay? I also want, so this will show up in our favorite fields, ding, 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 because local places that have a kind of homey vibe, but can be a place for us to go to do our work outside of the home, because mixed bag kind of deal, are probably going to get some extra attention while Mars is working here. Because what we want to do is have a homey vibe, but not be acting from home, because Mars, our action instinct, wants to do, but it's willing to do it locally. So if you are someone who has a tea shop, a coffee shop, a place for yummy, yummy, homey type vibe for, meals that are casual and home-like, and you get my journey, but have solid burn-in Wi-Fi. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is something worth keeping your eye on too. All right. All right. Next slide, please. Oh, the other thing I just want to throw out is, we talked about this earlier, this amplifies the call to update our virtual homes for our work, making them places people feel at home in or coming to. Okay? It's the same. All right. Thank you. Erica, you're good. August 12th. This is when things get even more holy moly. Our new moon, total solar eclipse, and South Nodal Wah in Leo. Okay? So we're now with the Nodal Wah, right? Aquarius is the north, Leo is the south. Okay? This is the first time that a new moon, total solar eclipse, at working the south end in Leo has happened since 2019. So it's been a while. But this is bigger than usual because everything else that's going on, in particular, Pluto working over there in Aquarius. Yeah. And Jupiter working in Leo. Oh my goodness. So please keep the larger context in mind. That's why I said to you, take a snapshot of the big backbeats and have it nearby, because reminding yourself of the bigger context working in the background, so that when you're tuning into the moves of the moment or the day or the week, have, oh yeah, this is going on, so I need to remember that has effect. Okay, because this is not your normal, and these are whenever we have eclipse, particularly at a new moon, working one end of a new nodal axis, things are big anyway, but way bigger right now. Okay. If you are someone who has been downplaying your talents or self-censoring, remember we talked about full-throatedness? Yeah. Boom again. It's like, hello. Hello. No more downplay. And where did that come from anyway? All right. Now, I also want to say this, because this is working the Aquarius Leo axis, there's some added context that's useful to keep in mind. Culturally, societally, we're told to self-censor, at least to a degree, depending on who you are within that cultural strata. Same thing with talents. And so there's some corresponding, there's a bit of social or cultural reckoning in this that you want to pay attention to, both for yourself and for your work and the people that work serves. Because this sends out some big vibes and will be for quite some time, like a year and a half more. And this will be in the air. Because Aquarius is like, we the people. And, excuse me, but social reorder means that me taking the brakes off my talents and my self-censoring, taking those off. is part of the larger, okay? And I just wanted to make sure that we kind of underscored that. Again, if you're a member of the current, we're going to be taking a much deeper look at this. And next one, okay? Now, melodramatic smoke and mirror embellishment or quick corner cutting, which can come with this. If people are living in reactive propensity without being consciously aware, keep that in mind, okay? It won't work well. It'll be a little bit like a boomerang that, okay? Not because we're trying to hurt ourselves, but we're trying to get our attention. And for those of us who do work in the transformation world, you really want to watch this, both in terms of anything that you might be investing in or purchasing, or anything that you're offering for investment or purchase, okay? Because propensity, kind of tugs at all of us. Not all the time, but it's there. And this one is worth keeping your eye on, okay? Okay. Next slide, please. So August 22nd till September 22nd, our force of nature, the sun, moves into Virgo. Oh my goodness. Simplify, systematize, store, okay? Simplify. We humans tend to make things that concern us or irritate us or stir us up. We tend to overcomplicate things. And so part of this is about how can you simplify things so you can, remember Virgo, it isn't just the standard stuff, it's about self-possession, being unto yourself. So you are in possession and you are sovereign. That's the heartbeat underneath all of this, okay? This wants to bring us back to earthy, easy pleasures too. Hello? Wow, really? It wants to shift what we think or how we think about routine, order, and ease. And I'm not talking about surfacey kind of new agey ease. Everything is not meant to be easy. Some things we do need to work at. But what this wants us to know is that there's work we are joyfully, most days, willing to do because it matters to us. And simplifying our approach to that, systematizing, routinizing, makes the work easier to do. Okay? And we want to reclaim some self-possession about how we think about those things. That's in here as well. Okay? Okay. How can we turn routines into ritual? And, not, again, in a performative way, but a genuine way so things feel more sacred and connected to us. Not just one more way to be productive, which is a clarion call from culture. The culture wants us to be as productive as possible because we're kind of nuts and bolts in the bigger machinery of, you get my drift. And that's not what this is about. Not even a little bit. From propensity it is, but that's not what this is for us. So there are all kinds of ways that we could reclaim or cultivate capacity for greater self-possession here. So if we're being productive not because we're afraid if we're not productive enough, we won't have value to the culture, but because there's joy in it. There's deep meaning in it. There is love in it. Yeah? Okay. Cool. Yeah. It's devotional. It makes everyday life and the work needed to maintain everyday life our way, not somebody else, our way, self-possession, sacred and meaningful. Yeah? Okay. Next slide, please. August 25th till September the 10th, our communications sub. Mercury shifts also into Virgo. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Now, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. In large part because Virgo wants to help restore dynamic balance and health. And I'm going to say nervous system rebalancing to communication. And our life communicates. So if our life is communicating something, is it communicating that we are inhabiting a healthy nervous system? It does our writing, does the way our business behaves, everything communicates, everything expresses, communicates. Mercury is about expression, particularly in business, just so you know. And the big question being asked this go round, again, because of all the larger stuff that's going on, not exclusively, but in large part, are you communicating from a healthy nervous system? Or are you, as most of us are, overstimulated and yeah, okay. This is about routines, yes, but an emphasis is on stress reducing routines and healthy habits that return you to yourself. So, if the healthy habits are ones you're forcing on yourself, if they amplify nervous system overload instead of reducing it. So those are the questions that we're going to be unconsciously attempting to answer while this is in play. And so will the people our life serves. Now, if your work speaks to that directly, pay close attention, okay? Because what we're looking for is dynamic balance with an emphasis on, yeah, meticulousness, but meticulous that is nourishing, caring, okay? And if you've been wanting things to stick, that's the way forward. There has to be love in here. And the genuine willingness to go deep underneath the things that we have been indoctrinated into and conditioned, and in some cases punished. You know, be productive, have order, things must be clean and precise. Okay, but my way, not your way. And that means that this must be nourishing. It must be self-caring. And if it ain't, I'm sorry, but no. Okay? We want to watch for the perfectionist trap. If there is an absence of yank into perfectionistic, starts with a P, I just said it wrong, with productivity, there will be yum in here. That's what I want to make sure you understand, because if you've been wanting things to stick for you or stick in the minds and hearts of the people you're here to communicate to and serve, that's what's going to count most. Okay? And as always, we can only offer what we ourselves are willing to inhabit. And by willing, I don't mean to imply that you're consciously choosing not to, because this is largely unconscious. But the degree to which we have integrated that is the degree to which we'll be able to offer it. The medicine we offer in the world is our medicine first, last, and always. And that's good to keep in mind with this one. Okay? Next slide, please. August 28th, full moon and a lunar eclipse, this time in Pisces. Okay? Woo! Big deal. Very big deal. So, uncanny synchronicities, check. Miracles big and small, check. Amped up compassion, check. Now watch that doesn't have you override yourself. Okay? Okay. Symbols okay? Symbols rather than straight lines, symbols rather than, and curveballs. I mean, Pisces communicates largely through symbolism and dream. And if you're willing to be with symbolic meaning, although that might have your mind go a little bit nutty, come back down. Remember, we're practicing self-possession in all kinds of ways. That's what this will be like. Check. Okay. Plus, there's likely to be some unpredictable revelations, likely to kind of stir things up, particularly about old assumptions, about faith and spirituality and what we thought unity and oneness were supposed to show up as or look like in us and around us. Okay? Okay. This may be particularly useful if you have been finding, as many of us have been finding, looking at those who come from another place on the political spectrum, looking upon them with compassion, difficult. Now, I don't mean rationalizing, excusing, but compassion. Okay? That's what's going to be important. And boy, oh boy. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Next one. Look at all those opportune days. Looky. Right? So we got all kinds of wowza stuff going on, especially with the two eclipses. Oh my goodness. And then this. So the thing that I wanted to say to all of us, particularly if you had your formations map done last month or this month, we are working, people. We are working. And there's all kinds of extraordinary opportunity. Things are heated, no two ways about it, but the heat is, it's like practicing hot yoga. Okay? And the opportune windows are all over the place. So let's dive into those. Next slide, please. So the first one, passion plus purpose will have many feeling inspired. They might not know what that inspiration is anchored in or needs to be anchored in, but okay. And if that's you, check to see if it is, if it has enough room to raise the stakes so your heart can meet the fullness of your sacred ambition. Okay? Okay. August the 10th. Woo! Wowza. Those kinds of connections and conversations are going to be the thing. No question about it. So, if you had, an offer to make or you had a webinar to offer, kind of a good day. Next slide. August 11th, open mind plus a little relational experimentation could equal lots and lots of forward movement. Okay? Now, I want you to know that there are places in all of us where that are not open. And we think we are, but there's places where we're not. So the way to help yourself check is to experiment. And if the experiment is a little more than you're expecting, there's opportunity, okay? And the potential for lots of forward movement. So keep that in mind. This does not mean you're jumping into the deep end without being stirred up. It means you'll be stirred up, and that's a good thing because it will help you create more opening. August 15th, words are going to have all kinds of extra power and oomph that day. Use this wisely, my friends, please. Do you want to move, folks? Yes. But you want to watch that you're not attempting to move them out of their own center of gravity, but moved more deeply into their own center of gravity. So what moves them moves them. That you're not the mover. Yeah, you're the connector. Next slide, please. August 17th. This is an extraordinary day to shore up your dreams or your vision with structure and scaffolding, particularly with words. Okay, so this is very Virgo and Mercury. What? Uh-huh. If this is your, purposeful work wheelhouse, you might want to start planning for something on the 17th or the day before or shortly thereafter, because this is going to have a lot of people feeling, I need to find the words. Okay, I need to create that structure. All right, August 21st. This day's skies are going to remind us all that strong and healthy boundaries are the thing. So remember we were talking about, that eclipse in Pisces and rethinking things, particularly on faith and spirituality and oneness. Boom. Okay. And I have spoken about Randy Buckley more than once. I'm talking about her again. Her work is the finest I know. It's called Boundaries for Kind People. If you're not familiar, please go check her out. She's worth a follow and then some. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. The 27th, small acts of no strings kindness kind of a day. And again, to do it, I'm going to suggest that if you feel compelled here, do it anonymously. Okay? Because that's as no strings as you can get. Okay? This isn't about performativeness. This is about genuinely supporting, genuinely offering. Okay? And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be small, tiny little things. Everyday, ordinary, but not for the person on the receiving end. Okay? And then be open to being a recipient yourself. And just notice, I was watching this myself just this past weekend. Someone extended something to me and I shushed myself. And I went, wait a minute, what? So sometimes, particularly on this day, it might be really important for you to notice whether or not you underplay yourself when someone tries to offer you kindness. Okay? August 28th. Expect the unexpected, expect detours, expect curveballs, and if you are able to be flexible and allow it, self-possessedly flexible, there will be an opening or an opportunity at the other side. Okay? There's a reason why the detours come your way, the curveballs come your way. Okay? Because where you were headed probably wasn't going to take you where you were attempting to go. All righty? And keep this in mind for your folks too. Yeah? Yeah. Next slide, please. Last one, passion, purpose, and focus. Sync up and amplify. So the reason that this is interesting is that we started with this. And now we're closing with this, but with one added feature, the ability to be focused. The ability to kind of anchor ourselves in so that the sync up and the amplification can help us move with it more effectively. So remember we talked about sacred ambition earlier? Right here. Living it. Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please. Neutral day. Now, this is a day when things could feel kind of funky, but there's usefulness in it. And so there's no particular kind of, or there's just, how should I lean in? Next slide, please. Mixed messages will be all over the map. So go slow and take care. Okay? And in today's waters, that's a major thing to practice. Going slow, taking care, right? Because the pace of life is just nuts. There may be piercing insights and stunning breakthroughs this day. Now, that's not necessarily contingent upon practicing being slow and taking care, being present, but it might be. Okay? This is useful to know. Next slide, please. Just one. Go back to the previous slide, please. We're close, but we're not exactly the same. Yeah? Less than a week later. Next slide, please. And the slide after. Passive meet aggressive. Okay? Like, it actually doesn't look all that passive, kind of aggressive, but yeah. And then razzle dazzle will be all over the place. Remember we talked about charisma and our people be using Leonine shuffle from propensity and doing the, yeah, you know what I mean. So if you happen to be on someone's webinar or you're reading an offer, and just watch out for the razzle dazzle and watch for how it might be, you know, pulling you a little bit out of center. Okay. And in terms of passive meets aggressive, I would strongly encourage you not to take the bait and enter a disagreement with anybody this day, unless it's absolutely necessary to stand your ground. I would wait till this energy passes. Okay. Because it could get a little explosive. Next slide, please. David Fields. God bless Erica. She found a way to get them all on one slide. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of them. Yeah. You might want to take a screenshot. The reason I say that is because for a great many people, especially recently, I've been noticing that the favored fields are not exclusively sequestered, that they often overlap and are having effect in a person's work. Okay. So keep that in mind, but also know that so business at large teaches us if something's trending, take advantage of it. And it's like, yeah, but is that my work to do? And if the answer is no, don't try it, especially right now. Too much heat going on. Just don't. It'll take you out of the harmonics we were talking about earlier. But if there is genuine overlap or a call to find overlap because it's there and you didn't notice, or you've been kind of, pay close attention. Okay. I want you to look at number 13. I want you to look at number 10 and number 12. Atypicality. Atypicality, my friends. You're going to hear me say that a lot in the days ahead, but really big. I would pay close attention. Okay? Because even for those of us who know we are atypical, we've been deeply conditioned into performing typicality. And there's all kinds of things moving around that right now. So keep that in mind. Okay. Notice number 1 also falls into that. Nervous system healing for the atypical, because most of the nervous system healing work that's kind of around and about is for the typical. And that's not helpful for everybody. Okay. Okay. There could be a lot of advances in people's work if we pay close attention to that, and not as a, let me take advantage of the trends like I was talking about before. It has to be your medicine. Okay. Next slide, please. Live for September, August 27th, also Thursday at our usual time. You might want to pop that into your calendar now, because there's some stuff moving in September you're going to want to know about. Okay. Thanks. Next slide. If you are watching this in replay, if you have any questions or any shares, come on over to the Facebook group. Let me know. I'm in and out. Okay. And so far, which of August's influences are already calling you? And I say that to those of you who are here with me in the here and now. I'd love to hear from you. Anything going ding, ding. Ooh. And if you pop something into the chat, I have not been keeping my eye on that.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
Hi.
You know, what's funny is I was looking at, I'm a Leo. It's all the Leo energy is kind of going crazy. But what was really calling to me, though, was the Virgo stuff of cleaning up. Like I already am feeling this really big call to clean up my home, to clean up my life. And so I was really resonating with that. And so I don't know why, but that's what's resonating with me.
Cool. And to embrace that call with questions about how do I do this from a self-possessed place. Does that make sense?
Yes, because I think, well, I'm just looking around my life and seeing all these things that I've accumulated that don't really reflect me and don't feel super authentic at this point. Maybe they did at one point, but they're not anymore.
Right.
And so just letting go of all that's not authentic feels really important.
Right. Right.
So I resonate with your saying.
Cool. The other thing, because part of this is also the month is about nervous system care.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things I've been watching, especially for the atypical, and I don't know if that includes you, I'm not trying to say that it does, is picking a 3x3 or 4x4 area and just focusing there and setting a timer for 30 minutes. And when 30 minutes are up, you're done.
That resonates because that's what I've been doing in my backyard where there's a bunch
There
of weeds.
you go.
And I've just been doing it 30 minutes a day and just saying, that's all I'm going to do because that's all I can handle. I don't know if I'm atypical, but I'm an introvert. So
right.
I think that makes me very different than some people. So
right. Good for you.
Yeah,
good for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? What did this touch off for you or have your mind start wondering about? Anybody?
Lisa, this is Sylvia.
Hey, Sylvia.
I have to say the new moon total solar eclipse that hasn't happened since, was it 2019, did you say?
Yep.
It just has me wondering, 2019 was like a mega travel year for me. It just makes me wonder. I mean, this year's almost gone and I haven't really been anywhere, but it just makes me wonder what that sort of energy coming back is going to mean or look like. So
right.
About it.
Yeah, I would be curious about that too. I would also suggest you consider that travel could also be virtual and internal.
Okay.
And given what I know has recently happened in your work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for bringing it up. Because that I have no doubt. Well, you tell me. I could be wrong. Does the piece I just referenced have its roots in those travel experiences, at least to significant degree?
Just trying to remember.
Yeah.
I went. No, I wouldn't say interesting. None of the stories, none of those are connected, but the specifically to that. But the concentration. Apparently, there's something in the concentration of the travel of the external journeys.
Yep.
And maybe there's something in the recollection of a concentration of a certain kind of experience in the current work. Maybe that.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, maybe that's because the current work would provide potentially an inner journey. In fact, it's even been described as that.
Right.
Yeah, so potentially maybe that's the link.
The inner journey that facilitates a more epic outer journey, or an outer journey during epic times.
Um, yeah, yeah, I could definitely see that.
Okay, that
Yeah,
would, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Thanks, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Lisa, it's Melissa.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
um, I almost didn't make it. I said, you have to. And I didn't know why, but I do now.
Good.
Um, for years, I have had this secret desire to be the character in Harold and Maude,
Oh
the Ruth
yeah.
Gordon, that this was my vision for being an old lady.
Oh,
And at 70, I kind of I'm there. So I just want to reposition everything to be this
uh,
wise woman. And my blog is going to be called Etheric Pulpit, where I'm walking out with all of this wonderful religious training I have to play in the world as it is.
mm,
Um, so lots of flashes and dates, like when am I going to teach this? Oh yeah, okay. And it's really fun because I'm doing it from a tech center,
right.
which is really interesting to reposition. So I have no idea how this is all going to shape out, but I feel a really strong urge. And thank you for today because it basically re-emphasized that I'm on the right path,
Oh, good.
even though
Good.
it may make no sense at all yet, but it will.
Yep. And honestly, the less sense it makes here, the better sense it likely has for you and your work.
Absolutely. I'm swimming from my Pisces now.
Yep. Right on. Cool. Thanks,
Yep.
Melissa. I'm
You're
glad you're
welcome.
here. Glad
Me
you're
too.
here. Oof. Oof. Okay. Anybody else? Are you all feeling full? Okay. It feels like everybody's feeling full. Is that an accurate assessment, friends? Letting it all vibe? Patrice is like, yep. Okay. Susan, yep. Okay. Then how about we just leave ourselves together in the deep? Yeah. Okay. Remember, we do. Oh, I'm going to give you a quick update on the offline community. We talked about testing. I spoke with current members, particularly, I think. The platform we were considering is brand new and a little on the buggy side right now. So we're holding off and sticking with Facebook in the private area for live and with the current for now. Okay. But if you are you've just finished watching this as a replay, or you're feeling full and something occurs to you later, please go over to the private Facebook groups, whichever one, and pop it in there. Okay. Okay. Okay, my friends. Thank you again for being here, for continuing to invest your heart and your attention on your journey and your medicine and your way of helping yourself take that medicine so that you can be the medicine you were born to be in the world. Yeah. I appreciate you in more ways than I will ever be able to find words for. I want to say a big thank you again to Erica for helping put all this together and then for watching everything. making things run smoothly. And if you want to pop your microphone on so we can say goodbye to each other before we say goodbye, that would be lovely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you. And
you.
goodbye.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Take good care, friends. Bye.
Lot of love.
Thank you.